You know the feeling winter gets after it has stayed too long. The sky goes dark before dinner. The room feels smaller than it did last week. You wake up tired, even though nothing bad happened. You have heat, lights, hot food, music, medicine, a locked door, and probably something glowing in your hand. Still, after enough grey days, a small question starts to show up in the back of your mind. How much longer? Now strip almost all of that away. No insulated walls, no store down the road, no electric light, no weather report telling you when the cold will break, no doctor if a cough turns serious, no calendar with spring politely marked in green. Put yourself in an Ice Age winter, where the ground is hard, the wind finds every gap in your clothing, and the next warm season is not a promise. It is something your group has to reach. That is the part we often miss. Winter did not need to kill a person in one dramatic night. It could grind people down through small failures. A fire left too weak, a hide torn at the worst time, a walk taken too far from camp, a hunt that returned with nothing, a child who could not get warm, a group that started snapping at each other because hunger had made every minor problem feel personal. Survival was not a single brave scene. It was maintenance. So when we ask how Ice Age humans survived the longest winters, we are really asking how they kept a whole system from coming apart. The cold attacked the body, but it also attacked time, patience, attention, and trust. Archaeology cannot hand us someone's private thoughts from 20,000 years ago. Nobody left a winter diary beside a Paleolithic hearth, but the things they left behind can still tell us what they were trying to protect. Start with heat. Cold sounds like a feeling until your body has to pay for it all day. Your core temperature has to stay within a narrow range. Your fingers lose skill when they get too cold. Sleep gets worse when the ground pulls warmth out of you. Hunger makes the problem sharper because your body needs fuel to keep making heat. In a glacial landscape, warmth was not comfort. Warmth was what allowed everything else to happen. That is why fire mattered so much. It cooked food, dried damp materials, hardened tools, and pushed a small circle of light into a very large dark. But fire also gave people a place to be. Around it, someone could scrape a hide, repair a tool, watch a child, soften frozen hands, or listen while an older person explained where the herd might move next. A fire was heat, yes. It was also the spot where a scattered day became a shared one, and fire had to be looked after. Modern people treat heat like background noise. You touch a switch, turn a dial, pay a bill later. A Paleolithic fire was a responsibility that ate fuel and attention. Wood, bone, dung, and other burnable material all depended on place and season. Someone had to gather fuel, keep it dry when possible, and decide when to feed the flame and when to let it sink lower. In winter, a campfire was not a decoration. It was work that glowed. Even then, fire could only help the people close enough to feel it. Someone still had to leave camp. Someone had to hunt, carry, collect, repair, and sleep through hours when the fire was low. That is where clothing becomes much more interesting than it first sounds. We think of clothing as style, modesty, identity, maybe social status. In a cold Ice Age setting, clothing was part of the shelter system. Bone needles and other sewing tools from Paleolithic sites suggest that some groups were doing more than throwing loose skins over their shoulders. They were making garments that could fit the body, layer heat, and protect hands and feet while people worked. A wrapped hide might help for a while. A better made garment could let someone walk farther, handle tools longer, sleep with less heat loss, or fix another garment before it failed completely. We should not pretend every Ice Age group looked the same. Some lived in colder places than others. Some materials preserve better than others. Clothing leaves an uneven trail in the ground. But the logic of cold is blunt. A gap at the wrist matters. Wet material matters. Stiff fingers matter. If you cannot keep your hands useful, you cannot keep repairing the things that keep you alive. Food worked on an even longer schedule. Today, food usually feels like a daily decision. What do I want tonight? For ancient people facing winter, the question began months earlier. Where will animals be when the weather shifts? When is a hide at its best? Which bones, antlers, tendons, and skins can be turned into tools or clothing? How much fat can be gained from a successful hunt? And how much labor will it take to process it before it spoils or freezes into a new problem? Some late Ice Age sites point towards seasonal planning around animals such as reindeer. The point is not that everyone followed one neat strategy. They did not. The point is that winter food was not just meat on a fire. It was timing, knowledge, processing, and storage where storage was possible. It was also judgment. Eat too much too early, and the hard part of winter becomes harder. Save too much in the wrong conditions, and you may lose what you were trying to protect. The animal itself could become many things at once. Meat fed people, fat carried dense energy, hides could become clothing or shelter covering, bone and antler could become tools, sinew could help bind or sew. A successful hunt was not only a meal, it was a pile of tasks waiting to be finished, and each task bought a little more time. Time may have been the cruelest part. One cold night is frightening. The 100th cold night is different. The same faces, the same cramped shelter or camp space, the same repairs, the same worry about food, the same darkness arriving early, then staying. This is where winter stops being only a physical problem. It starts pressing on mood, patience, and group life. We cannot diagnose Ice Age people with modern mental health labels. That would be a mistake. But we can say something more careful. Long darkness, hunger, cold, crowding, and uncertainty are hard on human beings. A group that had no way to organize those pressures would be in trouble, not because its members lacked toughness, because toughness is not a plan. Work helped make a plan. Someone tended fire, someone scraped hides, someone shaped tools, someone watched children, someone broke bones, prepared food, listened for weather, remembered routes, or taught a younger person how to do a task correctly. The work produced useful things, but it also gave the day a shape. In a season that could feel endless, repeated tasks told people what came next. Shelter shaped space in the same way. Some Ice Age sites in Eastern Europe contain structures made with mammoth bones, and archaeologists still debate exactly how those places were used. They were not cartoon houses, and they do not mean every Ice Age family spent winter in a tidy bone hut. Still, they show that people could turn available material into protected space. That matters. A shelter did not have to be comfortable by modern standards. A windbreak matters. A dry sleeping place matters. A spot where hides can be worked by firelight matters. A place where children can stay closer to warmth while adults repair tools matters. The line between outside and inside may have been smoky, crowded, and thin. But in winter, a thin line can save energy hour after hour. Then there is the group itself. We often use the word cooperation as if it means everyone simply got along. Real cooperation is more practical than that. It means food can be shared when luck is uneven. It means one person can carry knowledge another person lacks. It means children are not watched by only one exhausted adult. It means a mistake by one person does not always become the end of everyone. Modern Arctic and hunter-gatherer societies cannot be treated as copies of Ice Age life. They have their own histories, technologies, and cultures. But they can help us think about a larger principle. In cold-adapted communities, games, stories, contests, songs, and shared work can do more than pass time. They can train the body, teach children, preserve memory, and keep people connected during seasons when isolation would make every problem worse. That gives us a cautious way to imagine the long nights. We cannot prove that one specific Paleolithic group told one specific winter story beside one specific fire. But we can understand why stories would be useful. A story can carry a warning about thin ice, a dangerous valley, a lost hunter, a reliable animal route, or the rule everyone needs to remember when food is low. It turns experience into something portable. You can carry it in your head after the speaker is gone. There is also a quieter value. Around a fire, in a season when the outside world had shrunk, a story could make the night feel less empty. A game could keep bodies strong and minds alert. A song could pull a group into the same rhythm for a while. None of this needs to be romanticized. People were still cold. They still got hungry. They still had conflicts. But shared activity could keep pressure from turning into silence and silence from turning into something worse. This is where the usual image of survival starts to look too narrow. Weapons mattered. Muscle mattered. Endurance mattered. But the longest winters also tested repair, patience, memory, and restraint. Could you mend the same garment again without losing heart? Could you ration food without breaking trust? Could you keep a child calm while adults were afraid? Could you wait for spring without letting the waiting consume the group? So how did Ice Age humans survive the longest winters without falling apart? The best answer is not a single invention. It was the way many small systems overlapped. Fire reduced the dark. Clothing reduced exposure. Shelter reduced the wind. Seasonal knowledge reduced some uncertainty. Shared work reduced isolation. Stories and games gave people more than information. They gave the night a structure. That does not make ancient humans superhuman. It makes them recognizable. They were people under pressure, using what they had, repeating small acts that kept the group alive for one more day. A stitched hide, a tended ember, a shared meal, a remembered route, a child learning where not to walk, a story told again because forgetting it could be dangerous. Maybe that is why winter still reaches something old in us. Even now, with walls and electricity, long darkness can make time feel heavy. We look for warm rooms, familiar voices, routines, food, light, and reasons to keep the day from dissolving. We are not Ice Age people, but the need for structure when the world feels cold and dark may be older than we usually admit. If you had to survive one Ice Age winter, what would you protect first? The fire, the food, the clothing, the shelter, or the people around you? Pick one, and then ask yourself what happens when the others start to fail. That may be the lesson ancient humans learned slowly, one long night at a time. Winter is not survived by one thing. It is survived by everything holding together.